Hello, and welcome to our very first episode of Beating the Drum with cybergriots. Today, I'm honored to have Alex Aquino. Alex is information security leader with global experience ranging from the U.S. Air Force to Microsoft to Amazon, and currently running security programs at Autodesk. We will be talking to Alex, and he'll be sharing some war stories with us. In the meantime, I'll be right back. Stay tuned, and when I come back, we'll have a chat with Alex. Hello, Alex. Welcome to the show and welcome to our very first episode. So I'm actually honored to have you on this. This is our very first one. So I'm looking forward to us chatting and having an exciting conversation. Just for our viewers to know, we're going to be sharing some war stories. Alex is going to be sharing some war stories with us. And we're going to take it from there. Hopefully, this is a fun episode for you all to enjoy. So, Alex, welcome to the show. And
Thank you.
Thank you for doing us the honor of recording our very first one. So without further ado, I know I did a little bit of some introduction about you, but I will let the guests, our viewers, hear it from your own mouth. So tell us a little bit about
wow. Geez, you made that person who started sound really cool. Well, let me start from there. I'm Alex Aquino. I have, I guess I've been in the world of security, kind of fell into it now for, almost 20 years now. Thanks for mentioning. Yeah, I did 20 years in the Air Force. I did everything from, I started at the Air Force at the lowest level, from packing parachutes and loading cargo on planes, and eventually moving my way up through the service to becoming an officer there. Well, my time in the Air Force, I ran networks for Air Force bases, and supported that, and then eventually ended up doing work for the Air National Guard, doing cyber operations missions, what we probably consider red teaming, blue teaming work, in addition to running the Western Defense Sectors networks. Yeah. So did a total of 24 years in the service during my total time there. After I was done there, I decided I wanted to move on to other pastures. I joined the private sector, where I moved on to Amazon, and I did IT operations and fulfillment centers, and that was it's really exciting work. It was those fulfillment centers at Amazon. I'm sure everyone's aware, just runs at, they don't stop, and the IT operations is the backbone. It's the lifeblood of keeping things going, and so I did that. I also, from there, moved over to Microsoft, where I was a security program manager on some clouds. I did a lot of cloud work there, doing security and security incident response for M365, which I still can't believe some of the things I got to see and do there. Did a brief job at Google, where I was the biometrics. I was a program manager for Android biometrics at one point in time. It was crazy for me to think I walked to a Best Buy and I saw all these Android devices out there, and think my team directly impacted anything that has a biometrics. Be it vision, be it eyes, be it face identification, thumbprints, etc. Came back around to Microsoft, and then decided to go and try different things. We're now at Autodesk, where I'm a security program manager, assisting building the enterprise security team there.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's my career in a nutshell.
That's quite a career to unpack. And I know you mentioned a lot of terminologies in there. And just for the viewers' sake, we'll cover some of these as we get. You talked about red team and so forth. I think I heard a few other terms that we'll talk about. I'm just curious, like in your over close to 2 decades or more than 2 decades of security career, was there anything? What was the initial thing that drew you to security? Like, was there any mentor, things like that?
I consider myself to be a very, very lucky person. I seem to have an ability to be drawn at the right place at the right time. And my path when I started, was not in security. I know a lot of people, including yourself, Ahmed, right, who are in security or security professionals, or you go to a security conference, right?
Yeah.
And I think even here at Autodesk, the most interesting thing I've noticed is like you start asking people, what did you go to school for?
Yeah.
What did you go to school for? And the number of English majors and art majors that are security professionals blows me away. Which for me is always a signal that security it's changing now, right? We have more formal education in security, right? But everyone kind of seems to fall into it in our generation. I'm hoping that future generations have formal education, and I'm really passionate about that. We can talk a lot about that. But anyways, it's a long-winded way to sit there and say how I got into security was being in a little bit of the right place at the right time. I was an active duty officer, and the Air Force at that time was making the decision to reduce the number of active duty officers, and there was a guard unit on my base that focused on red teaming. At one time, they came to me and they were like, and they talked to previous people who ran the network there, and they're like, hey, we want to do some red team activity on your network. Are you okay with this? And they're like, yeah, because normally we're used to getting kicked out. And I'm like, no, come on, bring it. Come do your thing. What do you need to do? I'm like, the more you prove that's wrong, the more opportunity, the more you'll make us better. And by establishing that relationship, was a huge one for me because I didn't know it at the time. I established a relationship. They appreciated that I had this viewpoint of like security was a good thing because pen testing and red teaming, while it may seem sexy now, it wasn't exactly like the hotness back then. A lot of times red teamers by IT guys were looked at as like the devil and like, get away.
Get there. I want us to talk a little bit about red team. We will talk about
red team. We will. But
I know that's the fun part, but I'm just curious. So you brought up a really good point, and I get these questions quite a lot too, right? I'm trying to transition into security. Is there any particular coursework and so forth? And I always emphasize the fact that there's a lot of security folks that I know in our space that, they have music degrees, not necessarily music degree or whatever, but they didn't start in that space. Like they didn't take a computer science degree or whatever. I think you called out something very important, which I want to highlight to our viewers is passion for this job or passion for this industry is key. And I wanted you to just kind of touch base on that.
Let me talk about that. Yeah. Because I get that question a lot too, right? Very often. I was working about Microsoft, or I was here, I was there. It's like, how did you get there? Like, what did you go to school for? I fortunately did. You and I both did go to school for a cybersecurity degree, the first one, right here at the state of Washington. Yeah. But what I'd always tell people are two things. One, your first point. They're like, well, how do you hire someone for that? I go, I don't necessarily hire when I was in the Air Force, in the Guard unit. I didn't hire because someone came in. Very few people came in. It's like, hey, I'm a red teamer. I can blah, blah, blah. I ask questions like, what do you do for fun with your computers? And if someone came in and said, oh yeah, I have virtual machines. Okay, I'd automatically hire you, right? That demonstrates passion, that demonstrates curiosity, that demonstrates interest. And then secondly, we live in an amazing day and age where if you really want to learn it, you can. Everything's available. Yep. So if you want to get into this world, nowadays, it is networking. That's the other advice I always give people. Go to ISSA conferences, go to security meetups, go to these things, meet these people, go online, learn the skills and crafts. You don't need a supercomputer or anything. You can you can go to Best Buy, buy the most basic $600-700 computer, right? Teach yourself how to put Linux on it. Yeah. Start running Linux commands. I mean, there's an amazing Hack 5 series taught by Snubs that I used, right? That walks you through Linux, to installing Kali, to running Metasploit, to doing all these things, right? And you know what? Because here's what I'll tell people. Today will not the penetration or the vulnerability of today will not exist tomorrow.
Absolutely. I love
that. And you have to be flexible. You have to be always. This is a I'd say all fields nowadays, right? Just the way things move. But this is a field of constant change, right? Mm-hmm. And with the advent of AI and everything, right? Point, aptitude, passion, curiosity, just a natural interest in wanting to learn and do something more. You can get into this field. This field is not without opportunity.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
I said, look at how much I've jumped around. People will tell me, oh, you can't change jobs because, dude, I never have a problem finding a job.
I can attest to that.
I've been part of it is I've been very fortunate. It's kind of going back to my story in the beginning. I was trying to say how I got into it was simply because I met these red team people when I left the Air Force. I walked across the street because I demonstrated an interest in it and everything, right? And they're like, they hired me into that unit, and they gave me a full hands-on training into the world of cybersecurity. So that's how I got into it.
Awesome.
It's entirely like I fell into it.
We covered the term red team quite a bit already. And I know people are curious. For those of us who don't know what it is, right? Can you kind of walk me through what a red team is?
Okay. Well, these phrases. I know we'll use red teaming, we'll use penetration testing, we'll use blue team, we use green team. So we love colors for some reason. I guess it's the best way. We white hat, gray hat.
Teams, don't forget that.
Purple teams, right? Green, seriously, it's green, purple, red. You know what? We got it. But a red team, if I was to sit there to make it very specific, would be a team that uses adversary tactics. Or to break or to find vulnerabilities in a network or in a network or in a system or environment. And I even say network, it shows how old I am, because nowadays, you would be going after a cloud environment, right?
Yeah,
you could
absolutely.
go penetration testing against a cloud environment. You could go penetration testing against Internet of Things, right? SCADA system. I'm sorry. Oh, let me be careful of my terms here. System control devices that control industrial control systems, right? Yep. Controls water plants, power plants, that kind of thing. So you can have a discipline of specialty in penetration testing, red teaming, that would use adversary tactics to get into these environments, right? Cloud, those kinds of things, and that's continually changing. Like what I learned working at Microsoft doing with the threat actors, right? Amazing variety of different ways that you can break into a network and such.
Yeah. So what would you say are red teams like kind of standardized across the board, or
no?
I would say they're like pretty much like SWAT red teams, and then they're just red teams like
I think so. If you look at what's it called? Man, it should be right. The MITRE, the MITRE attack chain. Look up the MITRE attack chain. The basic ideas of evasion, movement, entry, all the different parts of the MITRE framework are extremely valid too. It doesn't matter what the system is, right? The basic things there. Techniques, or then you get into specialized techniques of like the differences of how you get there. So, whereas like a team let's make up like an industrial control system that's like controlling water in a dam, right? Because those systems, they don't like to change it much, might still be running an old version of Windows. And they'll sit there and then they pull out the old books of like, how do you attack, Windows XP or something, which scary might be true, right? Versus where if you go after like a cloud, like a Google Cloud or an Azure, right? You'll use a totally different technique. But where you start will always be the same. How do you gain initial access? How do you footprint? How do you move around? How do you hide your tracks? All that's true, as the different techniques are true of the movement of a threat actor.
Makes sense. So it seems to me when we talk about red teams, these are high stakes, right? And you as a leader, I'm curious how that manages such a team feels like, even just like in terms of.
My only job was just to bring them donuts and food and then set them free. I did. I showed up. I brought donuts. I brought food. I was like, go forth and do great things. No, the managing and leading teams like this is, one of the biggest skills I definitely left the Air Force with was a passion and a lesson of leadership and taking care of people.
Yeah.
Right. And that doesn't change. It doesn't matter if you're being any team or organization. I can give you leadership principles all day long. But what I would do specifically as a manager is that, when you're touching a production network, right, people, systems, lives, like if you're going after a hospital, right, depend on these networks. So you have to, if you're a red teamer going against a production network, you have to plan, you have to coordinate. What are the entry points? What are the places that we don't touch? right? When you're working with the customer, right? Do they want to test their incident response services and you're going to be completely, under the water, right? Completely, or are you going to be open? It's like, hey, we're doing this work, right? So you work the agreements, you work the time frames, you explain what you're going to do. Because the first thing, obviously, you want to find these vulnerabilities. The next thing you want to do is cause them harm.
Yeah.
Right, because the worst thing you could do, which would be a war story if I could talk about it, would be to shut down an entire segment of a network.
Yeah.
Because you decided to run a tool. I'll say that for a war story, but I was on the receiving end of a security activity that shut down something that was critical for me. And if you want me to, remind me, I can get into that later. But no, being the leader of the team, you have to organize a team. You have to ensure they're ready to go. You work the agreements with the customer. You make sure your team is trained. They know what they're doing. Right, and you have good. The way it worked in my organizations, I was obviously the officer in charge, but we also have a person called a technical lead, and then the other aspect, which was also very important too, is that we brought new people on, and we created opportunities for new people to get their hands dirty, get hands on keyboard stuff, and even force me as sometimes the officer to be the hands on keyboard. I took on what I call the menial task of like building spearfishes and stuff like that. Right, were some of the things I did.
Makes sense. I do want to highlight on something and then maybe just get your thoughts on it. So with red teams and the evolving like ecosystems and landscapes of information security and all the systems we have out there, now our biggest concerns, or one of our biggest concerns, is nation state actors. Like, how does that differ in terms of how we deal with those, like traditional red teams?
I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
No, I was just saying traditional red teams in terms of like now moving towards these, like we see a lot of the nation state actors, like there's, I don't want to mention names, but you know what I'm talking about. So,
let me make sure I'm clear on your question. Are you asking me if, for me, a red team or pen testing team is brought on in a friendly aspect, right? Here's my networks, or here's my end devices, or here's the IP address, the class A or class B that, my company runs against, right? Nation state threat actors are a whole imagine.
Yeah, and I think my question was more, is a red team that's more targeted in terms of like mimicking those nation state actors, does that work or function differently from, say, a traditional team?
I don't think, to be completely honest with you, I don't think a red team can effectively emulate the persistence, the resourcing. Me as a red team, I would come in. A mission could be timed out. Could be. I think the longest one we may have ran was a month. Right? Nation state threat actor. Their time horizon are years.
Yeah.
Right? They're planting accounts. They're planting identities, and they're letting it sit. Right? Or they would go and wake it up just to make sure it doesn't time out or whatever. Yeah. These teams, these people are highly organized with project managers and program managers. And I say that too, it's like a serious thing, right? Like their mission set, their focus, they got super well trained people, and they are there. Their persistence is insane. So I mean, correct me on this. Isn't like the average time to detection now like 18 months?
Yeah.
Of a threat actor.
More, yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Probably.
So, anyways, I'll be honest with you. My opinion, I love red teams. It's sexy. It sounds fun. I think the better investment are blue teams.
Blue team.
Like having a blue team assessment of your network. And you're going to go, Alex, what's the difference? A blue team assessment is going to come in, red teamer. I love my red teamers. I was one of them. But a red teamer is going to come in. We're going to knock the door. We're going to go down the hall. We're going to knock the door. Go, this door's unlocked. Okay, we're done. Congratulations. You have vulnerability.
Yeah.
A blue teamer is supposed to look at your entire
thing. The scope, right?
The entire scope, the entirety of your network, right? I know organizations bring in red teamers from external, and we feel really good about it. We have a red team done, but I feel like a red teams are really limited in scope because you're coming. I'm a bigger fan of purple operations, and we can discuss that. That's when you have the homegrown security team working in partnership with the red team. and you're continuing looking at the entire scope of your networks. Are you checking your logs? Are you making sure the identities are supposed to be in there? You're looking at your entire network because security is a constant thing. A lot of people too. Like sometimes I feel like they're like, "Oh, we patched, we did a red team,
The checklist,
we done."
right?
Yeah, yeah, right. We passed. Well, I don't know if you guys heard of this little company called Target, right?
I love it.
A few years ago, this little company called Target had an exceptional PCI inspection, right? Exceptional. And what? They got owned hard through a vulnerability through, I think, was it their pin pad, the payment pads?
Vendor, pin pads, and it was a vendor that was working. That's a very good, actually, that's a nice segue into something else I did want to bring up when you were in terms of the supply chain risk, right? How does a red team advocate or even mimic their defenses against like something like that? Like, especially using the Target example you just brought up.
You would have to, in my opinion and in my experience, that's really good stuff, right? I think if we talk about the SolarWinds, was probably a really great example of a supply chain attack. And I lost a month of my life to to the SolarWinds response in my past deployment. And that was a nation state threat actor, from what I understand, from what I saw. I'm not saying anything that wasn't in the public
domain.
The public domain, right? And they took advantage of, quite frankly, bad was secure development lifecycle, SDLC, right?
Yeah, SDLC lifecycle.
Yeah, so they took advantage of bad lifecycle, right, where there was a build process and they had a weak password in the build process, and they got themselves in and they sat quietly on that access forever, and eventually injected their code into the build pipeline.
Out updates to everyone.
Yeah, but the thing about that, but back to your question, right? How would I emulate that as a red teamer unless I've decided that's a vector or a path?
Yeah.
I'm a bigger advocate of when you listen to these industry conferences, the black hats, those kinds of things, right? And people are talking about those things. Are we taking some of those things seriously? And additionally, I don't know if anybody was really even thinking about that.
Yeah.
When SolarWinds happened,
it was pretty much like a first of its kind, especially on that large scale and so forth. So,
well, again, let's go all the way back to the beginning, to the MITRE framework, right?
Yeah.
Footprint, reconnaissance,
all of
right. It's like I'm big into aviation, right? And like an airplane crash doesn't happen because of a bunch of little steps. And when you trace back a good nation state threat actor attack, it's a bunch of little things, right? It was literally, if I remember, on SolarWinds.
Yeah.
Please, I'm sure the comments will correct me on this, but if I'm mistaken, it was like an intern put a bad password into the build system of SolarWinds, right?
Yeah, it always starts with the most basic things, like
a little crack, right?
A little crack in the hole.
Yeah. Anyways, I could go on and on about that.
Awesome. I know one of the things that we totally wanted to talk about was you sharing some of your war stories from this your red teams, and I'm curious, as you can see down there, I have our banner set up. When doing the right thing isn't done right, I'm curious to hear the story. So, do you want to kind of dive into it?
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So I have to be very careful with sharing my sources and how I can generalize the story. But we were doing an assessment of some networks. We came in. It was actually my first mission as a mission commander for this. And so there we were. We're doing our thing, right? And I'm not going to name the names because I haven't talked to him, but he is now well known in the industry as a security leader. He actually is running an amazing company, and I wish I could mention his name because he was a low level,
maybe we'll get
E4, E5. You definitely should. You should definitely get him on here, right? And all he did. So imagine back in the day, and it's still even true now, right? There were, if people remember, there was the industrial control system BSB thumb drive attack. right? Where malware using a famous vulnerability in the what you call it, the auto mounting system of USB devices. You check a little bit, you put your malware on there, and then someone would take a USB device and move it from device to device, and it would just move along it on its very way. Very elegant, very beautiful system. And the networks I was assessing were attempting to mitigate that threat. So there was a product. Gosh, now this is where I'm going to show my age. I think it was SCCM or SCS. It was a Microsoft product that pushed patches across networks to do that. And the team has the VB script that was entirely focused on getting, patching this threat. But it had to run, this is the first mistake they made. It was overpowered, right? The script ran on the machines as a uses a domain admin identity or credential. So they push this out across the network. The script goes off, blah, blah, blah. Hey, okay, boom, do this thing, did the fixes, whatever. Well, the first thing is, and this is where I'll test you, Ahmed, is security through obscurity a method of security? Does it work?
Not, just because you think somebody doesn't know about it.
So my pen tester...
And let's reiterate that security through obscurity is not security. So
it is not security.
Yeah.
So they put a script in the hidden folders, hidden files in the computer. My troop decides to, unbeknownst to me, just out of curiosity, decides to do a search for hidden files. Right? And he did a search for the word password in hidden files.
Oh.
Oh God, I don't forget to say. And I remember him sitting there and he goes, "This is a family friendly show, right?" He sits there and I'm sitting there doing my thing, and all of a sudden I hear him go, "Holy bleep!" He goes, "Oh my bleep, dude, this can't be bleep." I'm like, "What's going on, dude?" He goes, "Y'all gotta see this." So he came over and he found that script I was talking about. Beautifully authored script with the first top lines going, was a password for each domain in this major network.
Wow.
Across the entire country. Every domain had a beautiful, domain,
country.
Across a lot of important places. And it had like the domain, and then it had, the domain admin account equals and a beautiful 32 character password.
So
for each one on the top.
That's interesting. Does it sound like this script was exactly the same thing that's probably deployed across many other organizations, right?
Oh yeah. They deployed this across everywhere, right? And then on top of that,
and then they hard-coded all the credentials in there too.
In the script. So again, my troop, whose shower name was at this point, literally just took that credential, net use, boom, boom, put it in there. It popped back good. Net use, use that to create our own domain admin account.
Yeah.
Right?
This is getting fun.
And prove that it worked. And we created it in each of those places. Nobody caught us.
Each of those
we did
places.
No one said anything. We created domain admin accounts. Dan.Generous was the person's name.
For context, I want you to sort of touch on what domain admin accounts are. Just for folks who are listening to kind of understand what the extent of that means.
Powerful account that you can do. If you're a domain admin, you can do everything and anything. You can control everything. You can install software because they were using that to install this patch on all these systems because it's the most powerful.
Pushing Windows, like pushing Windows.
The Windows update, yeah, right. So think of it this way, right? So there are many, many types of accounts in the Windows system. Right? Did you necessarily have to deploy? It was lazy, in my opinion. Right? Did you have? And maybe I hate being critical because I've been the guy on the other end of running IT systems. Right? But you have to think about it. Right? This is where we sit there and say these lessons are learned are designed for a reason. Right? So anyways, we created it, and holy crap! At that point in time, I had the ability to shut down all these networks if I wanted to. Right? My viewpoint was this. I didn't care what I had. I was sitting there going, shoot, if I found it, I darn well know threat actors already have this.
They have this.
Right? And the problem that I had is I called up middle of the night. I'm calling generals and all these people like, dudes, we got problems here, sir, ma'am. And they're like, yeah, we'll get back to you on that. Back then, nobody really understood
what that. I was just gonna say, to your point, yeah, nobody understanding. Did you even have run books for such a situation?
Dude, my first time as running a team like this, and my team's like, so I'm like, so what do we do? We're like,
we have no idea. I love it.
And luckily, I had some background and knowledge. I started waking up people on the middle of the night, and people, I tried to explain to people, and they were just like, so you created an account? And I'm like,
yeah. But the blast radius, right? Think of the
it still pains me to this day. The lesson was, to your point, they were trying to fix something, right? They were trying to literally, ironically, to patch another vulnerability. And in doing so, open themselves up for something way worse.
Even way worse. That's crazy. That's crazy. So what would you say, just citing that example, if that was something that was happening today, would you say that in both situations, the attackers would probably even have more sophisticated ways because of advancements we've made? Because I assume this is like a while, right?
That's a couple of years ago, based on some recent things I've seen, I would sit there telling someone the other day, it's like, CH, those kinds of things. That's not relevant anymore. Everything's in the cloud. Yeah. But there have been some recent events that has in my life professionally that has highlighted that the basics are still important. Right, and I would even argue that we've gotten more sophisticated now. Now we do have, in Windows and such, specialty accounts that are only used for updates. Right now we're trained in the notion of least privilege, least power. Right. One of the things I'm a huge advocate for, right, on doing administrative actions is something called JIT and GIA. Right, and you're probably looking at this like, what's that mean? JIT stands for just in time. Yeah. JIT. Or GIA, right, and just enough access. So what that does is, like, if you need to do an administrative thing on a system, right, it's like in the nuclear world, we have two keys. One person turns one, both people are turning the key at the same time to launch the missile. Same process, right? So what happens in a GIA type environment is that one person goes in there and says, hey, I need to do this maintenance action, right? I need this super account to do it. Their personal account doesn't have any ability to do that. Right? Then they submit that gets authorized, right? And that they're given just enough access to do that work in that space for a time-bound period. So I'm going to sit there and say, it's like, but that's, that's probably one of the most powerful tools that we can use to administer security and access in the network. I don't see used that often.
Actually, to be honest with you, I'm quite surprised by the adoption of JIT in terms of, like, as you mentioned, the industry. This is something that's available, but I don't hear a lot of people talk about that. I mean, we still go with the old-fashioned way of trying to lock things down and so forth. But, like with JIT, there's always like a time frame, right?
Just in time, yeah.
There's a just in time, there's a time frame.
Time down and a countdown, yeah.
Right? One thing I do want to ask when it comes to JIT, and I think I've seen this in many places, like with like the break glass situations, right? Can JIT be done wrongly?
There's no such thing as a perfect system, right? Someone famously said, if more than two people know a secret, it's not a secret, right? And I worry about JIT and GIA in the sense of insider threat, right? Mm-hmm. So if you have an administrator or someone who has the ability to kick off a JIT thing, or you have someone who has access, right? A person who has the right privileges but decides to do bad, then But then again, even think about it, right? Let's even think about that. That means you have to have two people willing to do that.
You're willing to do
right?
That, yeah.
That becomes,
what is it? Collusion?
Collusion, right. But I have seen situations where JIT and GIA, I have dealt with this situation directly in some of my other professional life as a security program manager railing against this, where it's like, well, JIT and GIA is like too troublesome, so we automated some JIT actions. There's some things we'll just let people do without having to go through the whole process. And I'm like, then you don't have JIT in jail. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
But we made some things automated. It still logs it. I go, but then you don't. I go, either you use it or you don't. Right.
Yeah.
So it's really you can any security system, any security apparatus can go bad. Doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
It's how frustrating do you make? I've got one blind in my life is how frustrating do you make your system so a threat actor decides you're going to go somewhere else?
Which is that kind of drives away the as we call it, the script kiddies and the as you mentioned, APTs they probably will still go at it for a while, right? Nice segue into something I do want to talk about as we talk about emerging trends. How do you see the advent of AI affecting things in our
society? Oh my gosh. Oh wow! You went there. I'm going to be very, very, very honest with you. I don't know. I don't know. I think my experience personally with AI. Everyone is scared of AI.
Yeah.
It's a new thing, and there's stuff to be scared of, right? But if you don't have the basic foundational knowledge to ask the right question, AI doesn't matter. You can, how many times there are many famous stories now of lawyers using AIs and getting busted, right? To do briefs, right? Because had hallucination, had fake cases in there, right? In the hands of someone that actually knows something, AI is an enabling superpower. I use AI in my job as a program manager because even as something as mundane as help me get started on a statement of work or something, right? Give me great. But I asked it the right question. I knew I needed a statement of work. And I know to read through it. AI will accelerate, in my opinion. I think AI in the future may enable people with hey, I want this effect. And it may have to, it may get that once it gets trained to that point. So I think AI is scary. It's not, and it's probably already doing things because it makes things easy. But you have to be able. You still need the knowledge. You still need that minor framework. You still.
Yeah, I mean, what is our most popular term we like in programming? Garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you're able to prompt it as good as you can, then it depends on the output as well too.
But again, I'm not a person with a hands on keyboard, right? Yeah. So I wouldn't say that's my view, my opinion. I could be, things could already be happening, or probably already are happening in the AI space. I was just watching. I'm in the process of teaching myself LLMs, and I'm working on this amazing little computer I got right now, right? Of running an LLM. I'm working with Llama. And I'm watching the YouTube video, again, when I talk about it again, curiosity and interest, right? I'm teaching myself how to do it. And the first video I got run into is a guy who's like, well, what if you want a LLM without the safeguards or controls, right? This is how you do it, right?
Yeah.
So, but anything, but like I said, you still need to have some kind of knowledge. You still need to plan. I mean, a nation state threat actors, they're really working through things, right?
Yeah.
And it'll probably just accelerate script kiddies and those things, right? All the knowledge is out there, right?
Absolutely. And I think with the advent of things like DeepSeek, which is non-open source and so forth, these tools in the hands of the wrong people, the wrong folks, becomes just much more weaponized. So, awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So I do want to cover this. This is the part of this show where we do sort of like a rapid fire questions, and I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. Now, this is the game. How we play it is I'm going to ask a question and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind, and then we'll take it from there. So,
okay.
You let me know when you're ready to go. So,
oh boy. All
right.
Go for it.
Good. So let's do this. Log4j. Where were you? How did it affect you?
I was actually in the military, and it didn't impact us at all. It's interesting. I worked for a guy who led the security for Log4j at Microsoft, right? And it didn't impact. You know what? It was actually a bigger pain in the ass. Was how do we patch against it? in a cloud, in giant cloud environments, right? And at my end, we were at the receiving end of it, right? But weirdly, it was a big deal, rightly so, right? But did it really? I don't know personally of any attacks that have been attributed to that. I think it's one of those where everybody found out about it at the same time,
and then it was,
and it was a very but it's also
it's like we always put those in
but,
like the December.
Oh my God, I've lost so many holidays. But the whole point of it is that it wasn't. I think it was so complex to you had to be on system, you had to have root on system, you had to do so many steps to roll it that it just
I think
there's lower hanging fruit.
Yeah, one takeaway for me, especially for Log4j, was everyone panicked. That's a fact. But then when people started to kind of investigate, just because, it's out there, it's a big vulnerability and so forth, there are a lot of systems that were not even running those, libraries and so forth. And so it just, it was very deterministic on your environment and what you were doing and so forth. So cool. Awesome. In one word, what is your information security philosophy?
Oh boy. Honestly, it's do the hard work. It's I'm in the process right now of dealing with a situation in my current company where everyone has an excuse of like the security is hard, we can't afford it, and you have to. The only way you're going to be successful as a threat actor, like I was talking about the pen test, right? They got only hit one unlocked door.
Yeah.
You have to protect every door.
Yeah.
So what are you doing to protect every door? Are you doing the hard work? Are you training people? Are you putting in systems? Are you staying patched? Are you looking? Are you hunting? I think that's really underappreciated. Is hunting for threat actors, right? Are you do the hard work? There's a lot of times people want to automate out security or automate out patching or take away a step that's inconvenient, right? Because it's hard or whatever. Do the hard work.
Makes sense. Open source or proprietary?
Both.
Both.
I think both have produced amazing results, and I think the marketplace has spoken.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Do you remember the time when I don't know if you were part of it, but I used to ascribe to those kind of like Microsoft haters. I'm like, yeah, we're open source. We love the open source world, And then, many years later, guess who's running Linux and other things on Azure and all?
Yeah. But I think both have their place, and both. You can go in your Windows box right now and hit the terminal. WSL and
they have WSL and so forth. I just actually was running something on there the other day, and it was pretty awesome. So I was like, yeah, this is great. Biggest challenge in crisis management in our space.
Biggest challenge is that we don't have a culture of growing and mentoring new cybersecurity professionals.
Interesting.
We can't get enough, right? I've seen it personally where it's like we don't want to train and hire new people. We just want to hire people that know it. Right? And we don't do a good enough job. I don't think we have enough schools. I like a friend of mine teaching at school. And it's amazing what they're doing. I'm not trying to criticize it, but the curriculum was so behind. I remember doing a special talk for them, and I go, "What's IaaS? What's PaaS? What's this?" They knew nothing about the cloud.
Nice,
right?
Awesome.
And we have to have schools that need to keep up. And I'm not saying CH. Look, I got that, right? But we need to start talking about cloud security. We need to start talking hyperscale security. We need to start talking about AI security. You and I can go to like a whole separate talk about AI security, right?
Absolutely. So I guess the last thing I would say, one piece of advice for infosec leaders, you being a leader in this space for quite some time.
I think the one piece of advice is don't be a no man. Don't be the person that is willing to work with you. You want to be early in development cycles, and you don't want to be the person that's always saying no. You want to be the person who works with teams to enable their security to happen, right? You want to be a partner in security, right? Because a lot of people avoid security because security is like, what's our first answer? No.
Yeah. Well, we're supposed to be the guardrails, right? Not the stop gates, right? So, yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, gosh, like I didn't think we'll get through this, but this has been super awesome and amazing chatting up, Alex, and I appreciate your time. This is a very first of our episodes. We are gonna have a lot of experts like Alex. Alex is probably gonna be back. I know there's a lot of topics we could cover, so I'm already signing him up for that. But what I would say though, as we wrap up, is there any key takeaways that you would love to share with our listeners?
I want to turn the pages here on you because you're successful.
No, don't do that.
You have a book that I helped look at for you. You're
Absolutely.
published and that kind of thing. What drove you to start this? To do something amazing like this?
So that is a good question. I think it goes to the point you made in the beginning, right? So like one of the things, so my book was, a combination of a lot of things that happened and kind of drove me to that. I was, as you are well aware, in going into like a PhD program for cybersecurity or whatever. And I figured, you know what? Like I didn't want to do school anymore. I'm like, why not just get all that stuff in my head and put it in something? Now, that said, I chose AppSec, especially building like an AppSec program, because there's nothing out there like, you and I have, been in spaces where we struggle to even figure out where do we start? Like as I'm here, I'm the AppSec program manager. I'm building a program around this. What do I do? That was my goal of the book. And so the primary goal of that was to put a resource out there, let individuals and industry folk share that knowledge, if anything. And to your point, starting this, I would give you some context on the name. So Griots in West Africa are literally historians, and they tell they know the history of the land, the people, whatever, and they tell the history.
Oral tradition.
Oral tradition, exactly. They use instruments such as the kora or the djembe in some places, like with my tribe in Ghana, they use the djembe and so forth, and they drum and they tell the stories. So the idea behind our name is cybergriots. We're all griots in this space. We're telling the story. And I couldn't be happier that you came in and told such a wonderful story, especially around Red Team. When doing the right thing is done, it's not done right. Sorry, I was trying to get that. But yeah, so that's kind of where it was. So I'm just hoping this would be a platform that I can bring on guests. We can share the stories. We can inspire the folks like you mentioned. I'm sure someone is going to probably land on this channel and see what we're doing. It's going to pique their interest. You and I, like you said, it was the interest that, piquing our interest was what kind of got us started, right? So yeah, I'm hoping this would be useful for some folks in out there. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ahmed. It's an honor for me to be here.
No, I hope
I did well. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
We definitely are looking forward to having you again. I'm sure there's a ton of topics we could talk about and so forth. So thank you so much. And I absolutely appreciate the time. And hopefully this was enjoyable for all our viewers that are watching as well too. So thank you, Ali.
Good.
That was good. All right. Bye.